We are here to talk about Friday Night Smackdown. I want to get straight to it. No edits, no cuts. Cody Rhodes opened up the show, cutting a little promo. I thought it was very generic and, I expected a little more from Cody showing up on SmackDown. He doesn't get interrupted, which is totally fine. We know Roman's not there, and they're trying to now find a new challenger for him. So that's what SmackDown was all about. But more importantly so, it was about reestablishing the Bloodline as the go-to story in professional wrestling. Everyone was talking about the debut for Tama Tonga, and I think they wrote him into the Bloodline story perfectly. So they show backstage Solo, Heyman, and Jimmy arriving to what used to be Roman's locker room, only to find out that it's now Cody Rhodes' locker room with Kevin Owens going in. I thought that was beautiful because it's showing what happens backstage when things start to shift since Roman is no longer champion, right? And the whole show, it was about consequences and what happens after you lose. How do you bounce back? How do you rebuild your empire? And Roman even posted this past week on social media that he had already mourned the loss of the championship and he was now training for the future. And, we saw also 2 triple threat matches that, it had some cool contenders. Bobby Lashley would have been dope. LA Knight, we know he advanced. That was pretty much obvious, right? Because then they put Santos Escobar. I'm like, yeah, he has no chance at the title right now, at least. And then the main event was AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio, and Kevin Owens. Yeah, Kevin Owens could win, but since LA Knight won the first one, I think AJ's the one that makes the most sense, just to make it, super interesting and have storylines and layers to the feud between LA Knight and AJ Styles. That match, though, let me tell you guys, that main event, I wanted to talk about that spot with Rey Mysterio at the end. I love how he ended up, going to the to do the 619 and all that. We had some nice reversals, some good spots, but more importantly, AJ Styles getting him at the top rope and hitting the Styles Clash on him with Kevin Owens on the floor. Like, that move to me sold the main event. It was awesome. So Logan Paul rubbing into everyone's face that he's the legend killer, that he's still champ. He needs to drop that belt ASAP, especially with him not being there every show. I get it. He's a special attraction. He's amazing. Good on the mic, great character, great persona overall. But in terms of like the U.S. title, it needs to be, involved in some heated rivalry like AJ Styles and LA Knight, right? That's what I'm thinking. But I thought it was hilarious how they asked Santos Escobar backstage, hey, are you the one that attacked Dragon Lee? And he's like, I just want to make it perfectly clear, I'm not the one that attacked Dragon Lee. And then they show Carlito saying, what do the kids say nowadays? Cap. Santos Escobar is all cap. So I like how they're playing into the fact that we don't assume it's Carlito. What if there's a twist there? I'm starting to think there might be a twist. Even if there isn't and it's predictable and it ends up being Carlito, it fits perfect for the story. I like that they're just going along with it despite us pretty much knowing it has to be Carlito. But I know I'm all over the place with this review. The main focal point that I wanted to talk about that made me want to just sit in my car before starting my day is the damn Paul Heyman promo with Solo and Jimmy. Man, Paul Heyman can talk all night. I mean, we saw that at the Hall of Fame. We see him just about every other week. And I just love his storytelling, man. He was just going off rambling and Solo, cutting him off. Jimmy's just there. And Solo's like, oh, yeah, we got consequences. When you lose, there's consequences, right? Just to get confirmation from Heyman to emphasize on his point. And I just love that interaction between him and Jimmy because they're brothers in real life. I know in storyline they mention it every so often because they don't want to shy away from it totally, but they don't really focus on that like they do with the Usos to let you know that they're twins. But Solo is Jimmy's brother. And I love how Solo creeps up on Jimmy and just tells him, I love you, man. I love you, my brother. Tells him all these things. And, it kind of got me a little emotional, honestly. It brought me in. They reeled me in with that segment because I knew the end is near for Jimmy at that point. He lost to Jay. He's been a goofball. He's been calling audibles like he told Roman all along. And, I thought Jay was going to, not Jay because Jay is not part of the Bloodline, but I thought Solo was going to Samoan spike him like he's done to Jay so many times or has attempted to. But instead, we get him walking away, Jimmy reaching for him, and out of nowhere, a hooded man, Tama Tonga, ends up coming in and just destroying Jay. Solo gets in on it too, and it's a total beatdown. But the cool takeaway here is not just an awesome debut for another Bloodline member, but Paul Heyman's reaction, saying, this is not what the tribal chief wanted. This is not, like, he is emphasizing that this was not Roman Reigns' call. Only to then later piggyback on that exchange with Tama Tonga pressing Paul Heyman after he was being interviewed. He gets cut off by Tama Tonga and tells him, orders by the tribal chief, right? Like, they are hinting that there's a new tribal chief in town, or at least someone else that's going to assume that responsibility, and all fingers are pointing towards Solo. Or Roman Reigns stepped over Paul Heyman, didn't want no one to know about Jimmy's beatdown, and went directly to Tama Tonga. Who knows, right? That's really a tease at this point. We know that we're going to get this Bloodline Civil War some way, somehow, and it's going to finalize with The Rock versus Roman. We just know that that's the main reason why The Rock is back at the end of the day. Even if he faces Cody, even if there's a chance that he goes up against Seth Rollins, we know that it has to be Roman versus The Rock. And this is why I constantly come on stream and I tell you guys, don't count Triple H out for these things. He's a long-term booker. If you guys haven't noticed, if you don't know what that means, he loves the long game for these storylines, and he's always going to connect the dots some way, somehow, and he's always going to make it worthwhile. The Bloodline storyline has been the best storyline in wrestling for the last 4 years, and I don't see it slowing down. As much as I love Cody Rhodes, as much as I love that he finished his story, I'm rocking his hat and everything, I think that ultimately the Bloodline story is just it's gonna hit home, man. It's gonna feed families. Tama Tonga, I know that there were reports being signed. I stay away from all that, but everyone on Discord is just going crazy talking about Tama Tonga. He's signed to WWE. He's gonna come out at NXT. He doesn't come out at Stand and Deliver. He doesn't come out at the Raw after Mania. When is he finally going to come out? And he ends up coming out on SmackDown to obliterate Jimmy Uso. Now, this pretty much means that the Usos have to get back together, right? Jay is going to step up for his brother. Because even though he had to beat him down at WrestleMania, he told them through and through that, it was brother versus brother, but he loved him and that he always will. So maybe this is going to be another interesting point in their storyline as well. I wanted Jay to stick to being by himself for a little bit, just for him to get that Intercontinental title and even, go for the world title at some point. But they're having him go for the world title right now, actually, because he's going to be facing Damian Priest. So I know I've been a little inconsistent with these reviews. I really want to, zone in on these reviews, like either the day after or a couple days after when I sit and think about it. Right now, that's pretty much what I'm doing here Monday night before Raw. We know that Raw is going to be epic. We have Sheamus coming back, so I'm going to be checking that out. And Jade and Bianca are going to be a serious tag team on SmackDown. We saw them destroy Chelsea and Piper. Not much to talk about there other than Jade has looked fantastic with her 2 moves and the way they're presenting her as, like, the new Goldberg for the women's division. I just want to see her kind of expand her moveset a little bit. But Another interesting point before I let you guys go is Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis teased that next week on SmackDown, we're going to, get new #1 contenders for the tag team titles to face Waller and Theory, who weren't there. But it was the Street Profits and New Catch Republic that was seen in the locker room with Nick Aldis. So I'm thinking they're going to head into that storyline for the next episode. I love the way they cut the promos before their triple threat matches. Like, they had everyone cut promos either backstage in little vignettes, or like Kevin Owens, where he grabbed the mic and walked outside to the ring. I love the way they've been, putting together these little promos backstage and following along the wrestlers through the gorilla position and all that in the tunnel. So the last thing, for real now, Rey Mysterio saying that the truth will come out and the Santos will be exposed is so hilarious, when we all pretty much know that it's definitely Carlito. It's going to be Rey versus Carlito down the road. Braun Breaker destroyed what's his name? Oh shit, I'm having a brain fart right now. Cameron Grimes. There you go. So that's it for me. I enjoyed SmackDown. I would go ahead and give it probably like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. I don't know. I thought it was great. The Bloodline storyline obviously has me hyped. I'm getting all these tongue twisters right now, and I think that means it's time to go. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.